What is up, my friends? It is Sunday night, and you're very welcome along to this evening's late night agenda. It's not really so late this evening, is it? 8 o'clock isn't a particularly late start, but at the weekend we like to try and get things going a little bit earlier. Obviously, the FA Cup is now finished for us this season, but the draw has been made for the semi-finals, just in case you're interested in it. Chelsea taking on Leeds United, Manchester City will be taking on Southampton. Didn't expect to be saying that this weekend, really. Did not see that Southampton result against Arsenal coming, but congratulations to them. Tonight, we're going to be talking about the clamour for Xabi Alonso's signature. We've asked tonight in our first poll of the night, is Alonso your number one choice to replace Arne Slot at the end of this season? Now, I've been honest with you guys and say I don't really know if he's the perfect fit for Liverpool, but he's a very credible one. Do let me know if you agree or disagree, if you think he's your number one choice or not. Don't be afraid to say no. If you've got other names, please throw them in. We'll also talk this evening about the fallout from yesterday's result and the performance or lack of a performance against Manchester City. We'll hear what Virgil's had to say. We'll see what the media have had to say about it. And most importantly, we want to know what you guys think about it. So as always, thank you for joining us this evening. I hope you've seen before we started, we have launched our April giveaway with thanks to our friends at the Collector's Corner. We're giving away a signed Charles Oliveira glove that you can decide whether you'd like it framed or unframed, completely up to you. All you have to do to enter, scan the QR code in the bottom corner of the screen and that will take you through it. Right, so much to unpack this evening, ladies and gentlemen, but if there's one thing I'd like to say at the start of the stream is my understanding is I'm more convinced that they're going in the direction of Alonso than I was yesterday, and than I was even a couple of weeks ago when I said to you guys that Alonso is the preferred choice for the club, I should say. And tonight, more has come out around that, and I'll take you through what's been said. I'll take you through what hasn't been said, and lots more. But, of course, sure show. So have at it, folks, in the comments, and we'll get stuck into it. So let's start off today with, I guess, probably some of the fallout, and let's hear from our captain, Virgil. From yesterday's performance and what he's had to say. He said, we already spoke about it in the dressing room, but it's on us. The fans were there to support us, and I can only apologise for the fans for what we've shown, especially the second half, by the way. It's difficult. Mentally, it's been a very tough season overall, but we have a responsibility, not only to ourselves, but especially to the fans. If we want to make something out of this season, we have to try something special in the next 3 games. Now, look, I can't speak for everybody, but I can certainly say that I, as a fan, I'm a little bit tired of the words, because words are doing nothing for us at this moment in time. And we heard in the build-up to this weekend that it was going to be about doing something special for Mo. Now it's about the fans. But ultimately, the clock is ticking, time is running out. And the big fear seems to be missing out on Champions League. And I'm really frustrated by this for many reasons. Like I've said, the goals at the start of the season were laid out, and scraping into the Champions League just wasn't it, folks. So here's what I'm going to say to you at the very start. And I've said this multiple times, but I'm aware not everybody watches every stream, so I'm going to repeat myself. If Liverpool are so convinced in the project with Arne, and they've no doubts and they're unwavering, why is this even a conversation? Why are they even briefing so regularly about it? Very straightforward. Come out, make a statement. You 100% support the manager. But that isn't the case. So despite what they try to convince the rest of the world of, they are working behind the scenes. They are in conversation with people. And the futures of not just our manager, but also Michael Edwards and Richard Hughes, they're up for debate as well. Jason Burt of The Telegraph will give you a bit of what he had to say on Sky about that situation for Richard Hughes. But ultimately, like I've said, you've nothing to explain yourself for if you believe in somebody that much. You don't have to be briefing. You don't have to be trying to kid fans. And also, like I've said multiple times, if you believe in him so much, put the contract on the table. Get him to sign it. But you don't believe in him because you know he's lost the dressing room. Fans can see it. And I'm just going to keep saying this and saying it over and over again until everybody eventually comes around to the idea that he is just treading water until the end of the season. Cal, how are you, my man? Craig, when do Billy Hogan and John W. Henry get involved? Because for me, this sits at their door now as custodians of our club, allowing this to continue. So it's been made really clear, Cal, that for FSG in particular, Champions League qualification is, depending on how far you want to think it is in the list of priorities, it's really important. And it's important because they're trying to pacify Liverpool fans by saying if he gets Champions League football, he could be here next season. Now, Champions League football is great, and we all understand as fans the importance of it from a revenue perspective. But being in the competition is nothing if you don't feel like you want to win the competition. And that's something that we Liverpool fans are kind of feeling this season. We're at PSG again. We're very worried about what's going to happen. And we don't feel like we're in a great position to win the Champions League. And this is the quarter-final. So Champions League qualification shouldn't be the measuring stick for whether Slot stays or not. For the simple reason is this. 5th place is apparently good enough to keep him his job if it's Champions League qualification. But if 4th place got Champions League and 5th place didn't, all of a sudden then he'd be fired. So the people that are supposed to be removing the emotion from the decision making very much aren't looking at the numbers here. And you don't need me to sit here and reel off all the record defeats and the record poor runs. The proof of the pudding is there by looking at the players. They aren't playing for him, or they're unable to get themselves up to play for him. And that's worrying, because whatever we talk about with regards to changes in the playing staff, injuries to players, ultimately they don't look fit enough, they don't look well coached enough, and they were quite willing to throw in the towel yesterday. And this is not something that I say easily. It takes a lot to come out and say that those Liverpool players threw in the towel. They did. They absolutely gave up as that second half unfolded, and that is unacceptable. So ultimately heads have to roll, and you can't walk into a dressing room and sack 10 players. So I do have some sympathy that yes, it isn't all on the manager. It is on the manager, the players, and the recruitment. But ultimately, where you start in these processes is by ripping up the situation with the coach and going again and bringing in somebody that can at least get more out of the players that are here. And of course, we understand the attractiveness of Champions League to players coming in. But I cannot stress this enough. This could set Liverpool back 3, 4, 5 years if we don't get this right this summer. And we haven't got the patience as fans or the wiggle room to allow this to carry on. This isn't spoiled, petulant fans throwing their toys out of the pram. This is genuine football people looking at what we're seeing and understanding that it just isn't good enough. Nobody's going to sit here and say we've a poor squad. Our squad is really good, filled full of really good footballers. But for some reason or another, they're just not cutting the mustard this season. They're just not putting in the performances. Whether we've a soft underbelly, whether we need a bit more steel in the team, sure, we could have that conversation. But they're poorly coached and they look unfit. Andrew, how are you, my man? 35 months as well, bro. Appreciate you. Said the players are all talk and no action. All season taking, but no action. If Slot remains in charge next season, then I won't be watching Slot out. Andrew, you must be, without exaggerating, the 50th person on the stream to say something along those lines to me. And I've every consideration or understanding of why you'd say it. In fact, I'd go as far as to say, Andrew, and when I say this, it kind of comes across like a bit of an ultimatum. But of course, I'm in no position to give an ultimatum, nor do I mean this to sound that way. But I don't know if I'll be here next season either. I don't know if I can go through another mental draining season like this one, knowing that the club don't give a shit about how we feel. Because, yes, fans' opinion is important, but it shouldn't be the be-all and end-all. But I'd say if you add fan opinion to the results, to the way we've played, to the lack of being able to find a way out of it, all things point to the fact the manager has to go. And if they're unwilling to remove somebody that is clearly failing just out of stubbornness or out of a belief that they know best, I don't know if I can sit through another season of that. I would honestly rather bring in somebody. Like, one thing that comes up a lot is this even worse than the Hodgson days? And I'm adamant it is. Not because the results are as bad, but because it's more egregious as a fan seeing a really stacked squad so poorly managed and coached. At least under Hodgson, as I've said, we understood where we were, the process we needed to do to get up and get back into Champions League football, to be challenging for league titles. And Jurgen did all of that. That man grabbed the club by the scruff of the neck and took us on a journey with him and put us back at the top table. Nowadays, we've got people who claim to be talking about the Liverpool way, making every excuse under the sun for failure. For what reason? Why do we have to be so loyal to Arne? Are we not allowed to be honest and say we just don't take to him? We just don't like the brand of football? It's not personal. We don't know him on an individual basis. But we do know this season has been like pulling teeth. And it's been so frustrating for so many of us. Rabadam said, I want Alonso, but there is a fella in Paris we could kidnap on Wednesday night as well. I'd be very happy with him also. Oh, look, he's my number one choice. I've been clear about this for ages, but I don't think we've any chance to get Enrique. I think he's quite happy there in Paris. They're going to continue to back him, obviously. He's going to get a bumper new contract. So yeah, he'd be the dream for me as well, mate, but unfortunately I just don't see it as possible. Then you come into Alonso and, look, I understand why, and I think they word this incorrectly, but I understand why the likes of Jamie Carragher and maybe others think that we just don't think he's Jurgen. Or Xabi is just, we're working off emotion or something. I'm not. I'm genuine. I've tried to make this argument. I would argue Alonso was a better CV than Slot has before he came to Liverpool. Alonso won the Bundesliga. He won the DFB Pokal. He got to a Europa League final. He took a team from 17th in the Bundesliga up to 3rd and then won the league with them. So for me, that is screaming a manager that is on the up and up and a manager that can command respect. The Real Madrid situation, he's got a better record than the current manager of Real Madrid has, who continues to lose games of football. Alonso was hard done by in Madrid. And it's not his fault. It's the way that club is. They back the players over everybody else. So that's where I'm at with it. But of course, let's get into you guys. Right. Jaden said, imagine the women's team won in their FA Cup semi. Well, congratulations to them. I actually watched the extra time earlier on against Charlton, and well done to them getting the win in the end. So yeah, they're into the semi-finals of the FA Cup, unlike the male counterparts. The guy, how are you, my man? So 2 questions for you. 1, John W. Henry being to a game this season, and 2, is the summer make or break for Liverpool for the foreseeable in your opinion? So I know Tom Werner was over recently enough. I think I have a recollection of John being over once this season, but honestly, I couldn't say that for certain. They are absent owners, and we've spoken about this quite a bit. And truth is, I don't know as fans how important this should be to us. Now, it is important to us that we want our owners to want us to win and want us to continue to develop as a football club. But ultimately, if they believe that they've got the right people involved, then I'm okay with it. But here's the thing that I'm wondering. And the only way I can really describe this to you, mate, is by putting it through a political sense. So let's say, for instance, you've got somebody who's running a country. Pick any country, it doesn't matter. And they're surrounding themselves by people who are saying everything is great to them. Meanwhile, Rome burns outside. And that's kind of what I'm wondering about now. Are FSG really across the football club? Are they really across fan sentiment? Or are they putting a lot of faith and stock in Michael Edwards and Richard Hughes? And that's something we just don't know the answer to. Because these guys were given a lot of free rein to run the club. I remember debating this with David Lynch many times, and it turns out David was probably right on that. A lot of these guys are given the freedom to run the club to a certain extent, day-to-day wise, how they see fit. So I just don't know if FSG are quite aware. I'm sure they're aware of the fan discontent, but I'm not sure, because they're not really football people, if they understand how bad this is. Or if they're, I don't want to say being duped into, but being talked into the fact that maybe this can be fixed. Maybe they think Arnott is just being unlucky. Again, this comes down to how much stock you put into the fact that Hughes and Edwards are the ones feeding them information. I don't know, but I'd say give them 15 minutes to talk to any fan, and they probably have a fair understanding of quite how vociferous the lack of support is for the manager. Right, let's keep going. Just some duty. Said, Slot's big red flag was the pre-season after a title was out of reach, made the new champions look awful the moment he stamped his tactics. And I'm still trying to figure out exactly what those tactics are, mate. You know, I've been around football a long time, and I like to think I have a fair idea what I'm looking at. But each week that goes by with Slot, I don't know. I don't know what we're looking at. I don't know what he's trying to do. Yeah, it's frustrating. It really is. And to go back to the second question, sorry, for the guy as well, is this summer make or break for Liverpool for the foreseeable in your opinion? This is what I'm sort of struggling with, because if you look at the last time we went in and did a bit of a rebuild properly with regards to the midfield, it was in the summer where we didn't qualify for the Champions League. In Jurgen's last season, where we didn't qualify for the Champions League, and then we went out and brought in Szoboszlai, Gravenberch and those boys. So it's hard to know if it is make or break. But what I would say is, we obviously look at football through the eyes of Liverpool fans. And when we talk about building our squad and the things that we need to fix, we need to be mindful as well that everybody in and around us isn't going to stay still. Arsenal aren't going to rest on their laurels. Manchester City aren't going to rest on their laurels. United are going to get back into the Champions League, so they're going to become an even more attractive proposition again. They're going to have increased finance. Chelsea's owners are going to be desperate to make some headway. So it is, well, maybe not make or break summer, a really, really important summer for the football club and for our ambitions moving forward. Let's just go back to the start of the season and let's actually talk about what the goals were. The goal wasn't to just about get Champions League football. Everybody expected a big trophy this year. You know, it's unreasonable to expect trebles and all this kind of stuff. But everybody expected Liverpool to be challenging for the league title or challenging for the Champions League. Now, I know we're technically still in the Champions League, but I'm at a point as a fan where I'm actually scared about Wednesday. Because this could be over in the first leg. If we play anyway like we did against Manchester City after the first 30, 35 minutes, we're going to be trounced. We're going to be absolutely trounced. And I don't want it to keep getting worse and worse and worse, which is why I've been begging, pleading and screaming, why are we waiting until it's unfixable? You know, it's pretty clear. If you've got your mind made up one way or the other on Arne Slot, then back him, or actually, you know, be honest and say, yes, you are looking behind the scenes, you are talking to people, and Alonso wants the job. And that I can say, he wants the job. Cal said, what I don't get, mate, is Hughes and Edwards, especially Edwards, as frustrating as they aren't fools. They're football guys, so they must see what's going on. I would absolutely agree with that sentiment. They are footballing guys. Both of them were players. Both of them came through the similar development stage of Portsmouth together. Both of them data-led. Both of them responsible for some really good signings for Liverpool. But what we can't answer, Cal, as fans is this hubris from Hughes and Edwards? Are they just, do not want their egos bruised? I don't know, because we don't get any access to these guys. We don't hear from them. We just get, this is happening, there you go, and we kind of have to try and figure it out from there. But you're right, they're not stupid people, far from it. But are they arrogant people? I don't know. Craig, when we spoke about winning the quad last summer, I didn't realise that would be 4 games. Oh, Dave, it's look, quads are always unrealistic, but we did have serious ambitions going into this season for a trophy-laden era coming our way. And let's say Arne turns it around a little bit into next season. I still think there are going to be players in that dressing room who just don't believe in his methods. And I think that damage has already been done. And you've seen former players, and I come back to Arne saying this himself, and Steven Gerrard and others, when you lose the crowd. And what I really enjoyed seeing today, I watched Sunday Supplement and I watched a lot of other stuff and I read a lot of pieces. A lot of these journalists, not the sycophant journalists that actually cover our club on a day-to-day ones, but the ones that cover more broadly football, they acknowledge that it takes a lot for Liverpool fans to boo a manager or to walk out. They all acknowledge that, every single one of them, that it's very, very unlike Liverpool fans, and it takes an awful lot to get us to that point. And it'll take it even more to turn it back around. So the goodwill isn't there. And if the goodwill isn't there from the fans, it's just going to be a hiding to nothing. Because he's never, ever going to win them all back around. Darwizzy said, Craig, did you see the footage of Szoboszlai yesterday? So, I'll be honest, I only seen it about 2 hours ago because I forgot to look into it. And then the Discord kindly sent me the clip of it. Where do I go with this one? I don't have as big a problem with it as some others do. And I'm going to try to explain why. Is it a good look? No, of course it isn't. It doesn't look great. But how can I, as an emotional person who has emotional outbursts and can go a bit over the top at times, I don't feel it's fair for me to be critical of a player who could be in the heat of the moment situation himself. Because what we see from Dominic Szoboszlai's actions on the pitch is that he does give a fuck, that he does work really hard, that he does care. And I think we need to be careful that we don't see his interpretation of pain as something belittling of the fans. Now, it wasn't a good look. And I'm not trying to belittle anyone who thinks that it was wrong. But for me, it's an emotional time, and emotions are running high. And I don't know if this is out of character for Szoboszlai. I don't know the full ins and outs of it. I only know what I've seen, and as a one-off, I can understand it. I can let it go. It certainly isn't top of my list of priorities of things to complain about at the minute. But that's just my take on it anyway. Corbin said, if Enrique wins the Champions League again, I think he'll leave. Maybe. Yeah, look, there will get to a point where you'll feel like, what more can I do? You know, and if you're at that point with Enrique, let's say, where you did go back-to-back Champions League, you know, that's then the measuring stick, isn't it? That's the expectation. So, you know, you're kind of on a hiding to nothing then as a coach as well. Because then if you don't do it again the following year, it's seen as some type of failure, which is crazy. But unfortunately, that's the way football works. CM Footballer, how are you, my friend? Said, this is just my opinion. If the only change we were to make to our starting 11 this summer is a world-class CDM, getting a proper pre-season with everyone available, that'll make a huge difference. I don't disagree. I've said this a few times over the past few weeks. No matter what happens, we're going to be better next season. I've every belief in that. The injuries thing, look, I might be on my own on this one, but when we talk about injuries and the unluckiness of them, we also have to talk about maybe why some of these injuries have come around. Were these guys forced back into playing a little bit too early? Were we not rotating enough, which led to a few players getting into the red zone into a bit more danger? I have to say, I probably think the answer to that is yes. So as much as I have sympathy for anybody with injuries, I do feel like his lack of using his whole squad or believing in his whole squad has led to some of these injuries either coming around a bit quicker or maybe being avoidable. Very difficult thing to measure injuries that don't happen. But I don't use it in the way some of the journalists are as a way to excuse or partially excuse what's happened this season. The things I have sympathy for Arne and the club are, of course, what happened with Diogo. That was incredibly difficult. And I have to say, I think Arne handled it remarkably well. I think he came across extremely understanding, extremely compassionate, and extremely fair. But that isn't a carte blanche to fuck up the rest of the season. Because like I've said, when that happened, the conversation amongst fans, I'm sure amongst the players, was let's do something in memory of Diogo. Let's have a great season to honour his legacy. Now look, that hasn't worked out. You know, I'm sure that was the best intent. Then of course you'd get into the talk about too many changes. That's another thing that's come up. And another thing that a lot of media and journalists are talking about. I've a lot less sympathy for that. And the reason is, as I've said, they made a conscious decision not to strengthen in the first season Arne was here. That wasn't you, that wasn't me, that was the football club, the manager, the sporting director, and Michael Edwards. They made that decision. So then it comes to next summer, and they have a lot of work to do. And they get a lot of it done, but they didn't finish the job. And now they're trying to say that there was too much churn and change. Sorry, partly your own fault for letting it get that long, by waiting so long. And on top of that, it's absolutely egregious that they didn't bring in a centre-back in the January window. Mark Gay should be a Liverpool player right now. We can talk about a wide forward as well. But some of the excuses I'm just not having. I really amn't. And I'm finding a drop-off from the expectation versus the standards to what we're seeing and what people are suddenly saying is acceptable. And also, like I said, Sunderland, they made a lot of changes and they came to Anfield and they looked very well coached. So didn't seem to be bothering them too much that they had 13 or 14 new players in. Patrick Moran said, I've been supporting and watching Liverpool the past 48 years. And if he's still in charge next season, I'll not be buying any Liverpool stuff or watching them until this coach or manager is gone. And again, like I said to our friend a few minutes ago, Patrick, my apologies, Patrick, you're not on your own. You know, that's something that unfortunately, mate, lots of Liverpool fans feel similarly. And it's not easy to say. Because, you know, Like you've said, you've 48 years of your life, Patrick. 48 years of your life following the Reds. So you've seen a lot, mate. You know, you've seen the good times, the bad times, the tragedies. And I'm right with you. As much as I'm hooked for life, I from a content perspective, I don't know if I'm able to go through another year of it. I might have to step aside or, cut back how much work I do. Because this season, the thing that's been the toughest for me has been to feel the pain that's out there. And to see so many people feeling so frustrated and saddened by what they're seeing. That's gotten to me a lot this year. Because when this is good, I can't believe my luck. I can't believe how incredible this is. When we're all happy, it's addictive. It's like a drug. But when it goes the other way, of course, as a fan, I've got that frustration. But as somebody who leads this community, I hurt when you hurt. And it just exacerbates the feeling of frustration that I feel for the season when I know there's so many amazing people all around the world tuning in, giving up their time to, try and share this lived experience of supporting the club. And to see them all feeling frustrated by something that is easily rectified, but feeling like their feelings aren't being taken on board. Tough one, isn't it? Because frustration is a word so many people are feeling right now. And at this point, like, we're all in it together as fans. Match-going fans, local fans, international fans, online fans. Sentiment's the same. They feel like they're not being heard. They feel like they're not being considered. And that's why I'm going to make sure that you guys know that this is being taken notice of. And it, despite the bluster, I'm 95% he's gone. And Alonso is the front runner at the minute, but it is always an evolving situation. But just let's try to lay out some of the facts tonight. Alonso still hasn't taken on a job. Why is that? Because it's not like he's going to be short of options. It's because he's waiting for a Liverpool job. Now, I'm going to read you out what a couple of journalists have had to say, and then we'll talk about it from there. Grizzly, thank you, bro, for gifting 5 memberships. Legend. So, Moby Haig posted something earlier on, and I wanted to just run through Moby's post and then go through the journalist in question and what they had to say. So, this is from Romain Molina, and Moby writes, one of the best French investigative journalists, Romain Molina, says Liverpool is planning well for next season, with Arne Slot expected to depart and Xabi Alonso the replacement. Alonso, also says that FSG is looking at Belgium as clubs as part of the multi-ownership model. They looked at Nantes, Monaco, Bordeaux, Toulouse and Le Mans. It is presently stalled due to the worldwide economic state, but is still in play. Now, Romain Molina said, to be precise, there's a disagreement over the multi-club ownership strategy because the owners expected a minimum return on investment, not projects with gaping financial holes to fill every year, as the City Football Group does with Troyes in France, for example. Michael Edwards and his team have worked on numerous club deals in Belgium, Brazil, Spain, Italy and France, without any real plan other than getting the owners to buy a team. Otherwise, how can you compare a majority buyout of Le Mans in the French 2nd Division, Nantes, a historic 1st Division club, or being a minority shareholder in Monaco, for example? It's completely different. Goes on to say, this raises a lot of questions about the real motivations of Edwards, who is, after all, very intelligent and knows perfectly well the economic and structural state of the clubs in question. So that concerned me even more, because it makes it feel like now the multi-club model is a bit scattergun. That Edwards was going around looking at all these clubs and maybe not having the brief of exactly what he was supposed to be looking for, exactly what the aim of FSG was. And it seems like it wasn't to look at a club that could be a feeder club to Liverpool or that could develop players. It feels like they want somewhere where they can, of course, pump in money, make it better, make it more profitable, and get a return on their investment. So it seems like there's even a lack of real clear communication around that, and we're 2 years into that process at the minute. Oliver said, how many wins do you predict for the final games? I don't know, mate. I honestly, as cliche as it sounds, I'm definitely in the one game at a time period right now. And I can't look past Wednesday because I'm absolutely shitting myself for Wednesday. And I've never, ever, ever felt so scared for Liverpool to go into a game. Because this could be a mauling. If we show up like we did against Man City in the second half, this game will be over by the end of the first leg. And that's not the mentality I want to feel going into a game such as this. Carbon, how are you, my friend? Said, hi Craig, I have a strange feeling we're going to beat PSG because since we've played them, they took our mojo and went on to win, and we need to take it back. I mean, all I can say is we're capable of it, but we're not showing any clues that we're going to do it. It feels like if we get it done, it'll be because the players have gotten together and found a way to get a performance out of themselves. But even at that, I don't know, man. I'd love to have the confidence you have or the sneaky feeling you have to go into it, but I just don't feel it. For me, if we can take no more than a 2-goal loss from the first leg, that gives us something to play for. But, you know, PSG, I would say, are better than Manchester City, and Manchester City wiped the floor with us. So I don't know what else to say. 9-1 on aggregate in 3 games with City this year. You know, it takes a lot of mental gymnastics to think, right, we're beaten 4-1 at home by PSV Eindhoven, but we're going to go to Paris and beat Paris Saint-Germain. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I can't get myself to feel that optimistic. Joey said, 38 years and I'm done too, if he's around. So sad, mate, isn't it? It's all I feel when I read these comments. It's just sadness, you know, because I understand it. As much as I'm going to be a glutton for punishment because there's no way I'll never not watch Liverpool, I just don't know if I can watch it and make content about it if he's still here. Alonso will get the best out of Wirtz and Frimpong. Agreed. Absolutely. I couldn't agree more on that. I'm sure that they'd both be absolutely buzzing as well to bring him in. You know, no part of me believes that if you walk into that dressing room and take the lads out one by one and ask them, do you want Alonso in charge next year or do you want Slot in charge next year? I struggle to think of maybe more than a handful who might come down on the side of Arna. But you bet your ass that the likes of Frimpong and Wirtz would be drooling over the possibility of being reunited with a manager that brought them to incredible heights in the Bundesliga and won the league title for the first time with Leverkusen. Yes, I have to believe that, yeah, they will have a huge sigh of relief. You know, and how much that plays into the thinking of the owners, again, I don't know. But I absolutely think you're right. Emmett, how are you, my friend? Said, hey, Craig, how do you think Wednesday will go? God. Again, I think it's near impossible to say for certain, one way or the other. I've already sent Connor over the stuff for my preview and my prediction. For the second game in a row, I'm going to be predicting a loss. But I'm hoping that we can at least keep ourselves in the tie to bring it back to Anfield and hope for a miracle. What's your thoughts from Calvin Ramsey at right back? Haven't seen enough of him, and the only way we're going to see enough or find out is if we do see him. Like, there are some... I don't disagree with Arnott on everything he does. Like, can I understand why he thinks playing Szoboszlai at right back's better than playing Calvin Ramsey at right back? Yes, I can. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but I can understand it. Because he thinks at least they have experience on their side. You know, at least that... But in another way, you're never going to find out if you don't give these lads a chance. But it feels like Slot made his mind up on Calvin Ramsey pretty early in the season and doesn't seem to be for changing. Did Slot say he had better players for right back over Ramsey? I believe he said something along those lines. I don't have the exact words, but something along those lines, yes. So, we do have a poll running, and we asked, is Xabi Alonso your number one choice to replace Slot? It's heading for 2,700 votes, so we'll see if we can get it to 3,000, and then we'll see what the results are. Excuse me. Right, so while we have so many of you amazing guys and girls in the comments, a reminder, we have a giveaway where you can win a signed Charles Oliveira UFC glove completely free. All you have to do to enter is scan the QR code below or use the link in the description. It's been brought to you with thanks to our friends at thecollectorscorner.co.uk. We're going to be giving away one signed item every month throughout 2026. April, it is this glove. You can have it framed or unframed, completely up to you depending on your circumstances. And thank you to our friends at the Collector's Corner. If you'd like to treat yourself to something there, you can get 20% off with our code Anfield Agenda 1 in the bottom corner of the screen. Right. Craig, do you think Xabi is coming this summer? Yes, I do. So do the people I've spoken to. I spent today and late last night messaging people, a couple of phone calls today, reading a lot of stuff, looking in a lot of chat rooms, and the vibe from the people I've spoken to is that they don't believe the line coming from the club. Some of them went as far as to say that they know for a fact that they've spoken with Alonso. I don't know that for an absolute certainty, other than third-hand stories. But I do know that the people that I speak with, I would put my reputation on a lot of the time. So, yes, I do think Alonso is the way this is headed. So, here was the exact quotes from Arna on Calvin Ramsey. And thank you, Keno, for sending that on to me. I think it's great for Calvin where he is now. He came back from the under-21s half a year ago, and everybody there is hoping for a chance. It's a big chance he has now to get into the first team. So when someone is unlucky, and there's always a player who benefits from that, Calvin is one of those. I have better options, but at the moment I'm running out of them. He has shown for that game versus Palace. He is good enough to be around our players. Then you wait for your chance to show this and the rest of the world. But at the moment, I have better options. So that was the exact quote from Arna. There was something else I was thinking of there. Oh, yes. So, quick message to moderators. Firstly, thank you again for everything you do for us. I was chatting with Keane earlier on, and we want to make sure that you guys don't feel like you have to just come in and police every stream. We want you to enjoy the streams and be part of it. So we're going to tweak the timeouts for people putting in the same comments. There's a big difference for me anyway between somebody trying to get a genuine comment across that they maybe put in every minute or two versus somebody coming in and spamming 6 or 7 things one after the other directly into the chat. So let's give people a bit more leeway with regards to, putting in the same comment and stuff, especially on nights like tonight or in regular evening streams where it's not going to be as fast as a match day. And I know everybody was just working off my instructions, and again, thank you for all of your help, but just a little bit more freedom to people now because, especially at this time where emotions are running high, and I want to try and get people to be able to express themselves and share their views as much as I can. So again, thank you for everything, but any questions, just ask myself or Keane, and we'll do our best to address them. Mark Doherty, Mark, how are you, my friend? Said, it's very concerning the amount of players we'll need to sign in the next year or two. Ali, VVD, Gomez, Robbo, Mo, all likely gone with uncertainty over Canada and Dom, Gakpo, Maka, Jones, Chiesa. Spot on. We're talking about what we need this summer with regards to incomings, Mark, but as you've rightly said, bro, we don't know what's going on with Canada. We don't know what's going on with Jones. Szoboszlai, yes, we look like we're in negotiations there. We don't know what's happening at Alice at the end of next year. We don't know what's happening to Verd at the end of next year. There's a lot of moving parts here. And we don't know what's going to happen with Elliott if he comes back in the summer. So, yeah, there really is a lot to try and figure out. And that's before we get into Richard Hughes, Michael Edwards, Arne Slot, the transfers we need to get in. And I'm worried about the continuity going forward for the club. Because, and I'll get to Jason Burt's comments in a minute, but he's very clear in saying that Saudi isn't going away. And the interest that they have in Edwards and Hughes isn't going away. So what stability do we have there? What happens if Hughes and Edwards decide to depart? How do FSG go about looking for another sporting director? Considering, we had George Smatka acting as more of a consultant really before that, and a lot of stuff didn't get done. Didn't Trent get the chance because Klein was out? I imagine if we had Slot as manager at the time, not saying Ramsey is the same league, but as Trent, just saying. Yes, absolutely. Football is littered with stories of people who take that chance when they get it. I mean, look at Bajcetic when he came in. Look at Jarell Kwanzaa when he came in. Connor Bradley, another one. So yeah, he had his chance and he took it. And I remember saying at the time to a friend of mine, "Oh, do you think this Trent lad is going to be all right to come in? Do you think he's going to be at the level needed to replace Kleiny?" Because of course Nathaniel Klein was an experienced right back. So yeah, if you're good enough, you need a chance, but you need to be able to be given the opportunities to show how good you are. CJK Callum, how are you, my man? Said, going to be on a flight when playing PSG. Thank God, get to enjoy Milan and the San Siro. Now having to watch Liverpool for a week. Enjoy if you're going over to Milan. Wednesday night for me. I'm shitting myself. I just am. Yeah. Look, I'm firmly of the mindset that he should be gone now. And it doesn't matter. Anybody that's in any way able to motivate should be brought in for the rest of the season. So I'm going to be extremely angry with FSG again if we get to the end of the season and they've had to wait for us the shit to have hit the fan before they try to do anything to correct course. It feels like they want this ship to hit the rocks before they do anything about it, rather than looking at it and thinking, okay, we can still get something from this season. Because I don't know, I honestly, and I mean this sincerely, so if you have a counter argument, feel free to throw it in the chat. I don't know how they can look at the situation now and think that staying with Slot is the best chance to get Champions League football next season. I don't know how you can look at the recent results, the performances, and come to that conclusion. We've seen against Brighton, we couldn't get a tune out of them. We've seen against Man City, they absolutely threw the towel in. So why do we think keeping the same man there is a better avenue than maybe getting somebody in to even motivate them a little bit more? Again, answers in the chat. I'd be really appreciative if you did have a counter argument, because I don't get it. I really don't get this better the devil you know argument when that devil is failing miserably. Don't you agree that we need to keep an eye on the homegrown quota? 100%, Eddie. That's why I think the likes of Wharton, and I know nobody likes when I say this, but that's why Gordon is in the conversation as well. These things do have to be looked at, yes. Stevie boy, how are we, dude? I fear that in 12 to 18 months we'll be having the same conversations on Alonso as we should about Slot. That's my view. So, again, that's more than fair. Like, I'm not an arrogant arsehole, Stevie boy, who comes in here and thinking, it has to be Alonso, it's only Alonso, it's Alonso and he's guaranteed success. I've been really honest and said multiple times, there are concerns there as well. But here's where I boil it all down to. Why was Arne Slot given the job? He was given the job because it wasn't supposed to be too much of an upheaval from the way Jurgen played, and the players would be able to adapt quicker to a manager that played with a 4-3-3 or some variation of it and a high press versus somebody who plays with a back three. So, and I know Alonso doesn't only play with a back three, but that was the argument put across. Now, as Stargirl and many others have said multiple times, what's happened to that? Where has that style of football gone? Where has that ethos gone? So now we're in a situation where, fast forward 2 years, we've got Wirtz in, we've got Frimpong in, and I think truly that we are closer than we've ever been to being able to look at a back three. Some of these players are at the end of the Liverpool career. Salah's going. Canade, Van Dijk, we don't know about. Van Dijk has one more year. But I absolutely believe that we can revert to a different system now and not have as much of an overhaul as maybe it would have been 2 years ago when Jurgen was leaving. I think the recruitment that we've done and the players that we have in, even looking at what some of them played in before, I don't think it's too much of an upheaval versus originally, where I totally understood them not looking at a Ruben Amorim or maybe not seriously feeling like Alonso was the right choice then because stylistically of the way we were playing. But now, hand on heart, I feel like we're much better set up to look towards a different style of football, and I'm even more confident about it because where is this brand of football gone? We couldn't be further away from a similarity to Jurgen Klopp or the brand of football we played. And this is the season where he really got to put a stamp on it, and he's been left wanting. So yeah, I get it. And I'm not saying Alonso is a guarantee of success. I don't know if anybody is a guarantee of success. But I'm certainly willing to be a bit more understanding of teething problems with somebody who is trying to correct course than somebody who just wants to keep doing the same things over and over again. If we aren't 110%, we'll be slaughtered. PSG don't stop. I know. That's my fear, mate, that this tie is over before we even come back to Anfield. Xabi, clearly a better coach than Klopp. Or Slot, excuse me. Slot. He's the one. Look, CVs. What had Arne achieved before he came to Liverpool? He had won the Eredivisie. I think had won, I'm almost certain he'd won the Dutch Cup as well. So then you look at Alonso, won the Bundesliga, won the DFB Pokal, got to the Europa League final. Slot got to a Conference League final, I think. I would argue his CV's better. And I would argue with a lot of confidence that CV's better. So how is it that we're supposed to think that Slot was more than qualified to come in and take the job, but Alonso isn't? This just feels like a stick that some people want to use to beat down Alonso. It's no more of a risk than Slot was, in my opinion. Again, looking at the CVs, looking at what they've achieved, I think winning the Bundesliga is more difficult than winning the Eredivisie, especially when you're up against Bayern Munich, especially when you took over a team that were 17th in that league and turned them into an all-conquering, invincible side. Case closed for me. Avilash, said, "Hey Craig, thank you for standing up for our football club. What I really want for the next coach is to rebuild our identity and know who we are, how we play, and bring back that fighting mentality." Yeah, look, fans, we always say this, right? Football fans will forgive a lot, but we won't forgive a perceived lack of effort. That's the bare minimum. We get beaten, it happens. Sometimes teams have a good day, sometimes we're outplayed, outfought. Okay, that happens in football. But this consistently poor standard, physicality, intensity, what makes them think it's going to change? There's been no sign that it's going to change. And it isn't just down to him being unlucky. It's down to him being too stubborn and unable to provoke a response. A lot of this, to me, comes down to man management, or a lack of, with Arne. That's certainly how I feel. Now, again, we all have to make this decision, or we have to weigh up the pros and cons from the outside, because we don't get a lot of information from our club. It shutters up a lot of the time, and they only really tell the friendly journalists what they want them to know, and then the rest of the time it's kind of business as it was, and try and figure it out from a distance. We don't know. Stargirl said, lots of chatter with regards to Andoni Iraola due to his links with Richard Hughes. It's his last year at Bournemouth. I'd prefer Alonso personally. I would 100% prefer Alonso than Iraola, because with Iraola, you've got a really good coach. Can't argue about that. But I do think he is a move away from a club the size of Liverpool. I don't think he's ready to come in yet. Because what you have with Alonso, apart from the pedigree as a coach, is you have somebody there who has been to the very peak of the footballing mountain as a player, can command respect in any dressing room by walking in. World Cup winner, European Championships winner twice, I think, certainly once. Champions League winner multiple times, Bundesliga winner, La Liga winner, Champions League winner with Liverpool. I mean, that's a player who is going to command respect when they walk into the dressing room as a coach and because of his playing style. So, and if we're talking about attracting players to the club, I dare say again, coming into work with Alonso would appeal to a lot of players. The man just oozes class, charisma, and I'm in no doubt will work his arse off to be a success here. Because remember, this is no easy task for Alonso. You know, he's coming off the back of being harshly treated by Madrid and some people knocking him for that. So he's going to be coming in with a massive point to prove. And he's making sure that he's resting up and hasn't taken or even entertained other jobs until the season's over because he wants to be refreshed and ready to go for his next big challenge. Sign me up. I'm ready to go. Get him in. James, so genuine question. I see our squad is needing a lot of adjusting this summer. Who do you think the club needs to move on? Obviously, Mo's made his decision, so Mo's going. I think we need to let go of one central midfielder to bring in a deeper lying midfielder, a proper midfielder. Whether that's McAllister or Jones, let's wait and see. We need to bring in two players up top, but you're talking about outgoings. Don't really see too many from the front line going out. It was made clear to me a while back that if Salah leaves, they're not going to let Gakpo leave. Now, unless a new manager comes in and says, I just don't want this guy, maybe something changes, but that's certainly the line that I was hearing. Elliot, don't know what happens with him. Alisson and Georgie. I'm starting to worry what happens if Georgie picks up a knock, because it feels like Alisson is going to be hampered by these injuries until he hangs up his gloves. So, not really sure on the goalkeeper position yet either. And then we move into the centre-back position where I really don't understand how they don't know what's happening with Canada yet. But I feel like they do know what's happening. So there was a piece in, I don't know if it was L'Equipe or one of the French outlets a few weeks ago that said that Liverpool had already planned to go into next season with Virgil and Jeremy Jacquet as the two starting centre-backs, and that Liverpool were concerned because of the injury to Jacquet's shoulder. So I wonder, was that them maybe feeling like, well, Canada's going to move on, or knowing they're just not going to get to the number that Canada wants and hoping that at the last minute he backs down somewhat? Because if you took the... look at my little friend in the chat. You spelled my name wrong, mate. So if you're going to say I need to lose weight, spell my name right, at least, please. And I know, mate, I do. You're right. I absolutely need to lose some weight, but I will. But you'll still also be one of life's also rans with no fucking hope. So, I can get rid of being fat. You can't get rid of being a fucking nobody. Sorry, but that's all you have on life, is come on the internet and try to shit on people from behind fake names. If you want to email me with your real name, address and phone number, we can have this conversation all you want, bro. But you won't, because again, you know the drill. I've been through this thousands of times. You let me worry about my health, and you worry about maybe trying to make something of your own life and stop worrying about other people. Cal said, happy to have Harvey back, but can't wait for the typical club waffle of he's like a new signing when we don't replace Mo. I don't know what the plan is, because obviously the club felt like they were willing to sell Elliott. That deal with Villa didn't work out the way everybody would have wanted, and that's 35 million that maybe they had in the books, in the back of their mind, things that they're going to have coming in, and that may have a knock-on effect as well for any potential players that we want to bring in. I really don't know what does happen with Elliott. We'll have to wait and see on that one. Has Woodman played any minutes this season, even pre-season? Yes, he definitely played some in pre-season. But I can't remember if he played the very early rounds of the League Cup or not. Mr. LFC Smithy said, I'd rather get a new manager in now. It'll give him the rest of the season to implement the style, training regimes, etc., as the World Cup this summer gives him less time with his players. Yeah, exactly. But I just... So, if I was Alonso, I probably wouldn't take the job now. I think, right now, today, I probably would want to come in the summer. I think there's a world where you can get rid of Arna, get an interim in, and start the conversations about planning with Alonso for the season, for the squad, style of play, all these things. You can do that without him having to really be on the training ground right now. And that kind of is a win-win. Because if he did come in, and let's say he wasn't able to miraculously turn us around in a few weeks, that's going to be something that you use as a knock to him. So a fresh start, I think, makes sense. Carabao Cup versus Palace. People are saying, there you go. Thank you. This is why I love our community, man. Absolutely bang, on the money. You're like my own. You're like my own personal Wikipedia. Saif, how are you, my man? Said, hello, Craig, massive fan of the channel, thank you. A bit off topic, but who do you reckon will win the World Cup? Personally, that France attack is just too good. Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I'm probably just going to give you the all reliables, to be fair. Spain will be there or thereabouts. France, as you said, that attack is pretty tasty, isn't it? And the depth that they have in that France team as well is incredible. That and the fact that it'll be Deschamps' last tournament with them, so maybe they want to go out on a high. They're obviously going to be feeling a lot of pain from. Now, imagine being Mbappe scoring a hat trick in the World Cup final and still not winning it. So they're going to be a force. Argentina, I don't expect them to go as far, if I'm being honest with you, as they did in Qatar and win it. Brazil are going to be nowhere near it. That Brazil team is one of the poorest I've seen in the last 30 years. This is the part where I say England have a chance, but I think if Tuchel's a bit braver, England have a really good chance. I mean, you've got on form probably the best striker around right now, like in Harry Kane. He's a goal machine. Look at the quality of the midfield and the options that England have there as well. The thing that I think might count against England could be the weather. You know, that temperature, the heat over there. That'll have an impact as well. But it's such a shame that it's such a rip-off tournament because it's quite an open tournament, this one. And then there's always going to be a surprise package in there as well. Yeah, good question, but they're the ones off the top of my head that I think probably Spain, France. Yeah, I think the winner's coming from Europe. That's what I would be quite confident in. Townsy, Craig, 2 questions. Did Liverpool speak to Alonso before hiring Slaw? And second, your opinion on Nagelsmann. Did Liverpool speak to Alonso before hiring Slaw? Don't know. Is my answer for that one? Because I'm sure I probably spoke about it at the time, but I don't know and I can't remember exactly. They would have looked at him, but whether they had a genuine one-on-one chat with him, I don't know, is the honest answer. Because, like we said, they went down the slot route because of a couple of things. One, style of football. 2, he overachieved with a smaller budget compared to like PSV and Ajax in the Eredivisie. And his availability of keeping players fit was another attractive proposition. So it feels like, and if my memory's right, Slot was right at the top of their agenda. So it wasn't like Slot was number 2 and we missed out on Alonso. That was the public perception because, of course, Alonso ended up at Madrid. But I really don't know how serious Liverpool spoke with Xabi Alonso before that. And the second part on Nagelsmann, very credible option. I'm probably not the one to be giving you a definitive on Julian Nagelsmann. I don't know enough about Nagelsmann's style of football. Seen a bit what Hoffenheim played against us. Obviously watched some of the German games, but very credible option. But with regards to would he be my number 1 choice? No, but that's partly because of my own ignorance. James, he didn't turn us down to go to Madrid. See, that's a fallacy. He was never offered the job. I can't tell you if we spoke with him or not, but I can tell you categorically he wasn't offered the job. So, let's not knock our own club by saying he turned us down to go to Madrid. Stargirl said they will probably get the cheaper option to wind us up. I hope it's Alonso or Nagelsmann or somebody of that ilk. I hope you're enjoying Easter. Yeah, it's been just a busy day. I've been on the phone a lot of the day, spent a lot of time reading, and just trying to figure out how much faith we should put in these briefings to friendly journalists that they're fully backing the manager, because nobody's buying it. Truly, nobody's buying it. How well do you think Norway will do in the World Cup? I haven't got a clue, mate. I haven't got a clue. Obviously, a decent squad, but no idea. I haven't watched much of Norway at all. sailed through your qualification, if I remember correctly. But look, I'd love to see teams like Norway, or maybe, nations that sail under the radar a little bit, have an incredible tournament. You want these dream scenarios. You want countries to have experiences that I never thought possible. You want fans from different parts of the world to experience amazing moments. We all root a bit for the underdogs in these big World Cups and, Copa Americas or European Championships. Declan said, "Hey man, love the channel. Confident we bounce back with a new manager. Building blocks are there, but need pace in wide areas. Tactics where the midfield have looked clueless all season. Miss Hendo." So there's been a few images, Declan, doing the rounds of this space that Manchester City had yesterday between our attackers and our defenders. And like we've said many times this season, you could drive an articulated lorry through the middle of that Liverpool midfield. It is just too open. And again, we're fans, we can see this. You can bet your ass that the manager knows about it. But this is the way he wants to play. And again, the fact that he's unable to sort this out is unacceptable. And there's another breakaway was absolutely a piss take as well. It feels like, and I've said this quite a bit, even earlier on in the season, I honestly think his hubris is so much that he thinks he's doing us a favour by being here, and that football should bow to him, and the Premier League should play the way he wants to play. Just look at the entitled nature of the way he talks about how teams set up against us, and how much he bangs on about a low block, or teams not coming to play. They're all just the murmurings of somebody who's frustrated and can't figure it out. So, on the poll, we asked, is Xabi Alonso your number one choice to replace Slot? We are very close to 4,000 votes, so let it get to that, because I want a bigger sample size as we can. So if you haven't voted yet, folks, please do. It only takes a second. And also, don't forget to pay your entrance fee, which is hit that like button. Thoughts on Slot having a connection with the fans and trusting the squad players? Endo was the best under Klopp. So, look, I think we all have to speak about our individual feeling towards the manager with regards to the relationship. I don't think there is one. I think Liverpool fans tried and waited and waited. Obviously, fans inside the stadium are going to be the last ones to turn. And understandably, and I've spoken about this so much, it's because of their admiration for the position of the manager and the respect that they have for it. Not necessarily the person, but the role of Liverpool manager. To see them leave the Etihad and the hour mark, I don't remember really seeing that in my lifetime. Other than potentially the Hodgson days, but the frustration there was for different reasons. It's I don't think there is one. I think that some people that write about the football club have tried to push this narrative that fans are solely bought into and have this connection with Arna, but I just don't see it. I don't hear it. I don't feel it. He just doesn't seem like he's my type of fella. And I've tried to take to him. Obviously, it was a lot easier last year when you won the league. Everything's feeling a lot better then. But I just don't think he has the connection with fans, despite people trying to convince us that he does. I just don't think it's there. And again, we've spoken so many times this season about people feeling disconnected. Well, I tell you what's going to make that disconnect grow even more is the owners feeling like they're ignoring the people that are actually making this club financially viable, which is the fans, the people who pay their hard-earned money, the people who, travel home and away, the people who are all around the world buying memorabilia, buying jerseys, paying for TV subscriptions. They can't continuously stick two fingers up at them and say, now, peasants, we know best. It's not going to work. And the squad players, he doesn't use them at all. Not at all. Especially with regards to the younger players and the League Cup. He threw them under a bus. And I'm fucking furious about that, mate. I'm absolutely furious about the way he threw away the League Cup because he wanted 3 points against Villa. Are we so arrogant that we don't want the trophy? Because we were, one win away from a quarter-final there? It's pathetic. And again, excuse-making from people that bang on about the Liverpool way, accepting these lower standards. There's been so many warning signs from the tin pot partying at the end of last season when we won the league before it was even over, to his absolute insistence on having holidays every time there's an international break. It's pathetic. And it's not. I remember when Brendan Rodgers was going through a sticky patch, and then he found, I think he said one night sitting at the kitchen table, he came to this conclusion that he needs to just make a small adjustment here and change the way Suarez is fed, and it all changed. And at least with them, we think, all right, he gives a shit. He's there trying to figure it out. I just don't know. I don't think Arna really gives a fuck. I think he just feels like this is one part of his footballing journey as a coach. I don't think he's as annoyed by it as the rest of us are. Do you trust Georgie to take over Ali? I'm not convinced yet. But I'm not convinced either. I'm on the fence. The best way I can describe it at the minute is he's not done anything wrong that I can say he's got errors in him, but he's not done anything amazing either where I can say, wow, this guy's going to be world class. He seems like a 6, 7 out of 10 keeper at the minute, but Ali's a 10 out of 10 keeper. So how fair is it going to be to make those comparisons? Because, much like with Mohamed Salah, Alisson is a generational goalkeeper. And the next goalkeeper probably isn't going to be Alisson Becker. So I think I need to see a bit more with Georgie. And again, we're going to get some opportunities to see that over the next couple of weeks. Number 1 target, Lamine Camara for me. Beast. Thoughts? Is he the guy from Juventus? Sorry, there's been so many names bandied around for the last while. I know we mentioned Lamine Camara on something. Is he the defender from Juventus? Because I remember talking about him, but I don't really know much about him. Right, on the poll, we've gone past 4,000 votes, and we asked, is Xabi Alonso your number 1 target to replace Arne Slot? 84% of people said yes. So 84% of over 4,000 votes said yes. He is the man to replace Slot. And we already asked yesterday what you think was the best chance to give us success. And people said, again, removing the manager. So is there anybody left in the chat who is a Liverpool fan that feels like Slot deserves another go next season? Some people think maybe he deserves the first 3 months of next season. My fear there is, if it doesn't work then, are we writing off another season? Can we realistically expect then to get into a good vein of form and challenge for things? I don't know. Jamie, why don't you just ask Mammy for a hug, mate? I know, whoever hurt you, Jamie, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, bro. I feel for you. I can see you're in pain, trying to lash out. It's okay. It's not your fault, bro. It's not your fault. Nessie, how are you, my friend? And again, I love all these hard men who hide behind fake names. So if you honestly feel all these things and you want to insult Jota's death and you want to talk about me or anybody else, do it with your real name. Own their opinions and stop being a pussy. So what I mean, anybody can go on the internet and be a scumbag. But I always take a lot of solace knowing that at some point in your life, reality going to slap you in the face. And you aren't as clever as you think you are. But, I'll sleep well knowing that someday the comeuppances are going to come for these arseholes. How's he still in after PSV is laughable, let alone this long. Get an interim appointment to inject some belief and moral into the team. Exactly. I said it back in November, and lots of people were again saying I was over the top. But I'm going to pat myself on the back a bit. I'm going to say, I know my football. And I knew the signs were there in November with those results. And I didn't need to see any more. I understood that other people wanted to give him time to turn it around because he won the league the season before. But like I said, that doesn't give you carte blanche. You get a chance to put it right. And he's had all season to put it right. And he hasn't done it. So I'm refusing to buy into this nonsense that he deserves more time. He should have been sacked in November because the writing was on the wall, and anybody who knows football knows knows what we're talking about. Nessie, why would I be talking about you? I was talking about somebody in the chat who I banned for slagging Jota's death. Yeah, it was clear. I knew I was right then, and I know I'm right now. What makes me the most sad is they let it go too far, let him go in November, and we would have still had some positives. Now I can't stand him. Disgust. Well, there's that aspect of it as well, Rolfie, yeah. It's getting more and more bitter. And I hate that we're at this point. Because it should have been done quicker. You know, thank you for what you've done. You'll always be welcome back. You're a title winning manager, but ultimately we can see it's not going the right direction. But it just seems unfathomable to me that it's even a debating point here, because everybody that knows anything about football can see through this bullshit and see through the fact that he's failing miserably. He isn't going to pull this team back around because the players don't want it, the fans don't want it, and the goodwill isn't there. Hey Craig, so depressing watching us at the moment. Need an established number 6. Fabinho wouldn't have let anybody get past him like now. Much love. Exactly. We never really got that replacement. Just because Ryan Gravenberch was able to fulfill a role doesn't mean that we need to stop looking for somebody in that position. Because Ryan Gravenberch wasn't brought in to be a 6. Arne found a way to utilise him in that position, and it worked for that season, and well done. But the fact that we didn't go in and bring in a number 6 or bring in an enforcer, it just makes January so much more egregious for me. Because at the end of the summer, when we tried to sign Mark A and it didn't work out, we had Canade, Virgil, Gomez and Leone. Then we come into January where, one, the form has been terrible. The results have absolutely fallen off. We've suffered massive losses. And we have a chance to still, as you guys have said, rescue something from this season. So go out there and get Mark A. 20 million quid. Easy. Get it done. Didn't do it. And that was at a point where we'd already lost the centre-back. So the position we admitted we needed to strengthen in the summer had gotten worse. Same guy you wanted in the summer was available, and we didn't do it. And we didn't do it because we wanted to go out and bring in somebody else at that point. We brought in Jeremy Jacquet for the future. But they basically admitted that, okay, this season we're just going through it then. That's it. We're just going through it with these centre-backs and we're rolling the dice. And there's been too many seasons in the FSG where we've rolled the dice. We ended up with an Arthur Mello, Ben Davies, Ozan Kabak. Wrong, 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 wrong. And everybody knew it was wrong at the time. Craig, Samachi said you're on crack about Slot. Am I supposed to know who the fuck that is? I have no idea who that is. People can talk about me all they want. Cool, I'm winning that. That's grand. I don't know who the fuck any of these people are. And I don't care what somebody says about me. If they have something to say to me, come and say it to me. Otherwise, shut the fuck up. Simple as that. These fucking nobodies going around using my name to talk about stuff. I don't give a fuck. I don't know these clowns. If they have something to say, come and say it. If not, shut the fuck up. And again, I know my football. I know what I'm talking about. Monaco to Monaco. Fabinho to Lamine Camara. There you go. Oh, now I think I remember Lamine Camara. Yes. Thank you, Jaden. Or Sonder, excuse me. Thank you for that. Yes, now I remember. Thank you. Imagine if Bill Shankly was still around, what he would say about Slot. Yeah, this is crazy because people say, you know, if you can't support us when we're losing, don't support us when we're winning. They cherry pick the... There's words I'd like to use here, but I'm going to be a bit more kind about it. The mentality of a lot of these people is losers. Simple as that. Some of these fucking dweebs that are out there talking about this football club and the Liverpool way would fall over if they tried to kick a football. Or I've forgotten more about football than they'll know, and you guys are probably the same, forgotten about football more than they'd ever know about it. These fucking pen-pushing dweebs are out there trying to tell us how to be Liverpool fans and what we're seeing. It's egregious to me. How am I going to listen to an Arsenal fan writing about Liverpool, in Ian Doyle's case, telling me how I should support Liverpool and belittling Liverpool fans as wanting to be like Chelsea and Man City fans? These lads are absolutely disgusting, and they've been getting away with it too long. But this summer, it's going to be different. You can see it online. Fans have changed. Fans see through this shit now. Fans are demanding better. You deserve better. You deserve better coverage of your football club. You deserve better objectivity of what's happening. You don't need sycophants who are just going to do the club's bidding. They haven't got your best interests at heart. They're self-serving arseholes who only want their access to the club to keep them employed, because without that they know they haven't got a fucking hope, because nobody would pay to listen to them. Nobody has any interest in what they're saying because they can see through the nonsense. That's it. End of. They know it, you know it, I know it. But again, we're going to have to speak with our eyes and our feet. We're going to have to stop clicking on their articles. We're going to have to stop acknowledging and interacting with them. They're getting desperate. An example, the Liverpool Echo. Used to be read it for free. Then it became you get 10 free articles a week. Now they're going down to 7 free articles a week because they're getting fucking desperate. Because nobody's paying for their subscription. Why would they? Why would you pay to be insulted by Ian Doyle and Paul Gorst? Why would you do that? It's fucking idiotic. Go on there to what? Be told you're not a real fan? Be constantly reminded that it's the match-going fans' that opinion that matters? These lads are not doing anybody at Liverpool's fan base a service. They're just manipulating you. And people are seeing through it. And I'm so proud of that. Because it's been something I've been trying to push back against for years. But I just keep getting labelled as a toxic arsehole. A non-serious person. Keep underestimating me, motherfuckers. Keep doing it. He'll never improve the team because he refuses to admit there's something wrong. The arrogance is anger-inducing. It is. But I feel like it's coming to a head. I do. You know, I'm going to read you out something here that I probably should have read earlier on in the stream. My apologies, I got a bit distracted. But I want to read you what Jason Burt of The Telegraph said on Sky Sports. With Slot, it's going to be quite clear with him. If they don't get Champions League football by winning it or qualifying through the league, then I think he'll go. So, what I don't understand is, how have we fallen so far that that alone will save his job or could potentially save his job? Because the fact that we're even fighting for fifth is a disgrace. Because we are not the fifth best squad in this league. Far from it. We're definitely top 2. Maybe 3. So that measuring stick that suddenly started to get put out there into the world as being something that was always the case is just revisionism. Now, I'm not having to go with Jason Burt here. He's a fine journalist. And I really do have a lot of respect for him. And I've no doubt that again is what is being briefed around. But again, football clubs lie all the time. And we don't have to believe every word that comes out. There are a lot of mitigating circumstances around that. It's been a difficult season, but I think they'll look at it very forensically and think we haven't achieved it and we're not sure we can carry on like this. So, again, even there as the conversation's going on, Jason's coming around a bit more to thinking probably not going to last. He goes on to say, Liverpool are saying the opposite at the moment. They're saying they fully back the manager, but the fact is, it's been made very clear they've got to qualify for the Champions League. Now, that's only from a financial standpoint. Again, we want to win the Champions League. Qualifying for it, great. We understand as fans the money, and we understand the attraction for players. But it shouldn't be something that's enough to save a manager who has failed categorically across the season. It should be, we got away with that. Let's get rid of this lad and bring somebody else in anyway. Goes on to say, listening to Arne Slot talking after the game yesterday, he talked about the importance of qualifying for the Champions League because he knows that's the situation. It may be tough and a bit unfair on him considering what's happened this season, but Liverpool are going into a very big summer. We're looking at Richard Hughes, the sporting director, possibly going. The talk in Saudi Arabia is not going away. Liverpool are saying he's going nowhere, but he's only got 1 more year left on his contract, as has Michael Edwards and Arne Slot. That makes me think we're heading for a change of sorts. It could be at the top of the club, or it could be in the dugout and on the pitch, as there will be a lot of change. There's an awful lot of play at the moment for Liverpool, and I think Slot's under a lot of pressure. He has to qualify for the Champions League. So not only as fans do we have to concern ourselves with the manager and what's happening on the pitch, you can see there's uncertainty around the future of high-profile positions at the club as well from an executive standpoint. And we cannot underestimate how important these roles are. We have had quite a churn of sporting directors. If you think back, even over the Klopp era, we've had quite a churn of sporting directors or people being promoted up to the position. So we need to get that stability and certainty there as well. Denise, how are you, my friend? Denise Reynolds, how are you? Said, Craig, my husband loves your show. He loves your passion and agrees with everything you say. You're spot on. Thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you to you and your husband. Look, I'm not always right, but I'm always honest. That's all I ever promise is honesty. You know, people can disagree with me. We can talk about it, but I just... My mum used to always tell me my mouth was going to get me in trouble. And I used to always think about that quite a bit. But ultimately, I think she also taught me, as my dad did, what was right and wrong. And I'm a father now. I'm influencing my children's development and what adults they're going to be in the world. And it's really important to me that my kids know to say what's right and speak up and don't cower and don't be afraid. If you're fully of the belief that what you're saying is true, own it. Own it. Because ultimately, when you go to bed at night, you have to be able to sleep. You have to be able to know that you're doing your best and you're going into the world sincere. And in this modern world we live in, it feels that sycophants are being rewarded more than honesty. And honesty is now becoming something that is at a premium and is squashed, undermined, manipulated. It's almost a dirty word. Because the people that are in these positions of influence and power throw money at these situations, and a lot of people's morals and wills bend when money's waved in front of their face. Thankfully for me in life, I'm not motivated by money. I need it like everybody else, but I've no ambitions, wants, desires to be rich and famous. I just want to get by with my family, carry on. I'm living a dream now as I am. So for me, it's important that somebody somewhere keeps trying to say the uncomfortable things that need to be said. Because the journalists aren't going to be saying it. Some other fan accounts that are linked to the club aren't going to be saying it. So somebody has to. And if I'm going to be the scapegoat and I'm going to be belittled because of it, I've come to peace with that. But again, I need to sleep at night. And I need to know that I'm doing my best. And I'm being honest. You know, if I'm wrong, I'll always put my hands up. But enough is enough. Enough is enough, because football is a grubby enough business without having, you know, what we're seeing with our own eyes questioned and told is wrong. That's just silly. Slot saying it would be nice if we could score a goal once in a while after the City game is appalling. I actually didn't think it was real. That, and coming into the presser and saying that, sorry, my arse is a bit numb. Coming into the presser and saying that, you know, City's XG was, they overperformed their XG massively. I mean, fuck right off, mate. So there's a time when it plays for that. All Liverpool fans wanted to hear yesterday was, this is unacceptable. It will not happen again. It cannot happen again. That's all we want to hear. And then we want to see that put into action. But, you know, how many times this year have we heard Virgil come out and talk about the pain and talk about understanding the fans and all this, but they threw in the fucking towel yesterday. They did. They threw in the towel. So whatever's happened to this group, it feels like the steel in it has gone away. It feels like the fighters in there have evaporated. Saif said, Craig, I remember you saying that you're going to be coming to Toronto this year. Are you going to set up a meet and greet or something like that? I haven't anything planned. I certainly am going to be doing. I'm not going to be doing a ticketed event because, you know, I'm not having any more issues with visas over miscommunications there. But look, I'd love to meet people when we're over there, mate. You know, if there's a Liverpool group, supporters club, set of fans that wants to meet up for a chat, a coffee or a meal or something, be my absolute pleasure. Yeah, we're going over to Toronto. We're doing 4 nights in Toronto downtown. Then we're doing 3 nights with Sabrina's relative, who lives on the suburbs of Toronto. And then we're doing 3 nights down in Niagara Falls. So that's the 10-day trip that we have planned. So if at any point it would be possible to meet up with Liverpool fans or do something, God, it'd be my absolute pleasure to do it. But as of right now, I've nothing in the works because I don't know Toronto well enough to start trying to figure this stuff out. But if it's possible, absolutely, we'd be up for it. Slot treats this job like just another team. Just another team. Holidays, vacations, and all the excuses says everything. And sorry for the misunderstanding earlier. Oh, Nessie, I know your intentions are always good, my friend. I just hope you know the same for me. I wouldn't dare speak to you in the way I spoke to that person because you've earned and deserve my respect. Yeah, look, a lot of these things with regards to the breaks during the international break and stuff, they would have been pre-planned. They would have probably been in the works before the season started, but that doesn't mean that you can't throw those plans away. And I know people have made the argument as well that you can still work with your laptop on holidays, but it's not the same. It's not the same as being at the exit. It's not the same as working with coaches. It's not the same as trying to figure stuff out. And even he doesn't even live at the city of Liverpool. I believe he lives in Manchester near the airport, from what I can understand. So it never feels to me like he's really bought in since he's been here, or he's really ingratiated himself to the Liverpool fans. Now, again, there is some truth to the fact that we were spoiled with Jurgen. There's no denying that. You're not going to get another Klopp. He was one hell of a man. You know, he just got it. It was just a natural fit. And I never expect to feel that again for another coach, but this feels like it's too night and day from all of that. Slot after the game, fighting with the fans. Can't believe Bruno could never hope Slot does not get the sack until the United game. Craig, respect you. Soboslai after the game, fighting with the fans. Sorry, mate, I misread that at the start. Yeah, look, I said I watched that clip. I only seen it a few hours ago, and I find it very difficult to be overly critical of Dom in that situation because I'm an emotional person, prone to emotional outbursts, and I understand things happen in the heat of the moment. But what I would say is, with Dom, we see what he does on the pitch. We see the ground he covers. We see the effort he put in. We know he gives a shit. But of course, I understand any fans that seen that or were at the game and seen Soboslai gesticulating like that. It's not a great look. I get it, but I hope they're understanding that it was just one moment and his actions do speak louder than that little faux pas, if you want to call it that. Craig, would you ever do a collab with You'll Never Walk Alone Reds? Forgive me if I'm confusing with somebody else, because again, I don't really pay attention much outside of what we do. But I think we have already. If I'm not, is that the gentleman from America or Canada? I feel we did. I feel we did a couple of videos, one on here and one on their channel. If I'm mistaken, my apologies. But if it was the same guy I'm thinking about, yeah, we've done a few, and I'd be happy to do another one. Found the guy very nice. Yeah, very easy to chat with, very good. So yeah, look, we're always open to it. Now, our door's never closed to anybody. Just not a lot of people come knocking on it for one reason or another, but we're always open to it. Paul, I just don't understand what credentials they see to give Slot the job in the first place. I'd hardly ever heard of him before that season. So I did hear of him. I remember Spurs looked at him, and I think Leeds United looked at Arnott as well, going back a few seasons. So he was always somebody that was thought of being on the brink of a big job. And he turned down the Spurs job at the time. And look, I've no qualms about that decision being made. I'm not trying to rewrite history and say that I don't understand why they gave Slot a chance. Again, I do. And I think they were rewarded in the first season probably more than they ever could have hoped for. But I just truly don't believe that gives you carte blanche to fail. I feel like that takes a bit of pressure off and that gives you a little bit of leeway. But that leeway has been used up. And we're now, what? Season started in August, so we're August, September, October, November, December, January, February, March, we're into April. So we're into the 9th month of this season. And can anybody say that he's corrected course? Maybe stop the rot of losing 9 and 12. But he probably shouldn't have even been able to get through that period. But he certainly hasn't turned it around. You know, we're always going to win some games of football, but we've lost 15 out of the last 40. It's the worst run since 2009, 2010. You know, there's so many milestones this season that I actually can't believe have happened, and he's gotten away with it. Like, yes, Liverpool aren't renowned for being a club that sack managers, but what's that saying about nice guys? You know, you don't always have to be trampled on. You can just say, right, enough is enough. We've given him long enough. Because, again, read the room. Nobody here is fighting Arna's corner anymore. Sonder said, Liverpool most losses in Premier League 14, Arna 10. Does he beat it? No. I don't think we lose 4 games between now and the end of the season in the league. I don't. So, Graham Bailey said Liverpool's hierarchy will have no qualms about parting ways with Arne Slot if they ultimately decide a change is needed. Team Talk understands. Ian Doyle of the Echo said, have some of the players lost faith in Slot? It's not implausible, but their own professional pride should have meant they didn't down tools at the Etihad, instead retained some hope of reward from the season. That so many match-going supporters, they just can't fucking help themselves, can they? He doesn't need to put the word match-going supporters in to this sentence, because the sentence explains exactly who he's talking about. The match-going part is just another fucking dig. So the match-going supporters departed the Etihad long before the final whistle will not have passed unnoticed by Fenway Sports Group. Could have just said, the supporters that departed the Etihad long before the final whistle would have not passed unnoticed by FSG. But has to go with the match going, because, you know, need to differentiate between the real fans and us fake fans. The owners want to give Slot every chance to atone for his campaign, but their patience is not limitless. And the actions of those who pay their hard-earned to watch the Reds will have some influence. What happens next could determine more than just the future of beleaguered Slot. Other Anfield careers may now be on the line. And they should be. Heads should roll for this season. And again, have you noticed that all of the articles written by journalists that say the club are fully behind Slot, read them for yourself, look back over them. Every single one of them has a caveat and a get out of jail card in there that said, but their support isn't limitless, or but if they don't do this, then they will change course. They're all just covering their own arses, because they know that even though they're being briefed that the club want and are happy with Slot, they know that that isn't going to match reality. They know it. I know they know it. You know they know it. The world knows they knows it. So why are they continuing to insult their intelligence? Craig, when you decide to retire, does Anfield Agenda retire with you? Or Connor takes your boots and continue? Plus, United fan here, hope I am welcome. Of course you're welcome, my friend. Everybody's welcome in here. All that we ever ask is that, you know, banter's more than welcome, but we're respectful of each other. Once we do that, we're all good. And I don't know, on the channel, I can only speak on my side. I can't speak for Connor because, you know, I'm not Connor. But for me, we came into this together, the two of us, and if he left, I'd leave, because I couldn't imagine doing this with anybody else. So I don't know if he feels the same way, but at some point we do have to look at what the next iteration of Anfield Agenda is. I don't have any plans to be retiring anytime soon. I enjoy what I do too much, even as this season's been a really tough one. I don't know. Like, we've played around with a few things over the years. There were some people that were interested in buying us out. There were some people that were interested in buying into us. And truth is, I really don't know what 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the line looks like. I don't know what direction fan content's going to go, and I don't know how much impact AI is going to have in our industry. But I know I haven't achieved what I wanted to achieve yet, and I, for the first time, now have clarity over the direction I want to take us in with regards to what I want Anfield Agenda to stand for. So that we're starting to talk about now. We're going to have a couple of content meetings, and I have an idea, but I don't know how to put that idea into action. But that's what I'm trying to work through. Yeah. Look, I can, again, full honesty, if somebody came in and said, we want to buy the channel, here's a life-changing sum of money, I'd have a decision to make, of course, as would Connor. But any conversations that we've had around that in the past have been that people that would want to buy the channel wanted me to stay on and wanted me to front the channel for at least 2 years. But we weren't ready to think about selling the channel then. And I don't want to sell it. I'd love to be still doing this in 10 years' time, but, you know, I don't know. I don't know what my health will be like. I don't know what the Liverpool fan base will be like. I don't know what the industry will be like. I've already surpassed that, and I hope for when we started. Like, you know, when people come up and ask me for a photo, wherever I'm out, I love it. I love it. I love when people come out and say what the channel means to them, or that they feel part of the community. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I feel so honoured, so pleasured, so privileged to be able to be a small part of people's lives on a daily basis. To know that you guys invite us into your home every night or onto your phone, it's something that we take really seriously. And this channel's been about the community from day one. You know, we made you a promise that we'll never have a paywall up, and we're the biggest Liverpool fan channel that don't have any paywall. I know people get annoyed by ads occasionally, but it's a balancing act trying to keep the channel financially viable and not being too intrusive to your enjoyment of it. So yeah, loads of different things. And you know, my daughter's boyfriend said to me a couple of months ago that he didn't ever realize how much went into running a YouTube channel and how all encompassing it is. You know, this is a 24/7 thing for me and Connor. It's a passion project. I love it. I'm so honored to be here, and I want to do you guys justice. This channel is worth a fortune. Do not undervalue it. Well, oh God, I don't want to give you too much personal information, but put it this way: to even get my attention, you're talking over 1 million just to get my attention. Realistically, if I valued this channel right now, I probably value it in euros somewhere between 1.2 and 1.5 million euro. That's where my head will be at. And I think that's me being fair about it as well. But I don't know. I want to keep doing this. I want to meet more of you. I want to grow the community. I want to add new strings to our bow. It's not, money doesn't motivate me. Like, I've always believed that if you take care of your community and the content, anything else, the money might be a byproduct, but it's not the driving factor. Now, I don't credit Mark Goldbridge for much because I don't like him very much, and we've had our differences over the years. But I found it really commendable that to build a channel to the size that he has, you need to believe that you're going to be able to continuously grow to make it financially viable. It's really easy to put up a paywall, go behind a paywall, and have that safety net. But it's very risky if you continue to go down the free route. You have to have the numbers to back it up. And we've only really had a breakthrough in that regard in the last year and a half. But I've used the model that I've seen with Mark Goldbridge, and I've backed me and Connor to continue to grow it. And then if it does come off, maybe the rewards are there for that. But yeah, look, we could have made a lot more money out of this, and we could have leveraged your support of us a lot more. But we don't want to do it because it's not about money for us. We have to survive, but I can't put a value on comments like that lady earlier on that said, my husband loves you, watches you every night. I can't put a value on that. that to me as an insecure person is worth more than £1,000 handed to me. Because that feeds my soul. That makes me feel like I'm actually making a difference and I'm actually achieving something. I love it. When I say I love you guys, I'm not joking. You don't know what you've done for me. And you just enhance my life on a daily basis. It's just, I know I'm an antichrist. I know I'm a moaner. I know I'm a loudmouth. But I appreciate this more than a lot of you will know. Don't let FSG buy your channel. I can safely tell you they've never been one of the people that have inquired. Yeah. We're going to make another step in the next few weeks that will probably have you scratching your heads a little bit. But again, it's something I truly believe is the right course of action. So, I'll let you know about that as and when it happens. We all know that Gerrard isn't the best of managers, but do you think he could have got more of these players Slot has? Excuse me. Look, no is probably my answer, but now yes. So what I mean by that is Slot won the league, did well, but the warning signs for me were there at the end of last season. I tried to express those reservations to people, but often, I probably expressed them in a way that's too harsh. But I had concerns last year, and those concerns were exacerbated this year as the season went on. There were a few warning signs to me about, the switch off, the dropping of standards, and things like that. So I would have said no, but now for what we need right now, honestly, I look at it like this: we've got, a handful of games to go in the season. Right now, the season's on a knife edge. Champions League qualification is in the balance. So I asked myself, do I believe that the same manager that's been in the dressing room at the Etihad, that was at the dressing room at Brighton, that was there for PSV, that was there for Crystal Palace, that was there for Nottingham Forest, I asked all these questions. Do I think that he has a better chance of getting a reaction from the players, or somebody else, be it Steven Gerrard, Johnny Heidinger, coming in with fresh ideas, fresh words, and no baggage? And every fibre of me believes strongly that somebody else would get a better reaction in the short term than these guys. So I want Steven Gerrard in, but I don't want him long term. I wouldn't mind him as a number 2, but I just don't even know how you look at Arnott and think your best chance to salvage, whether it be Champions League football or something from this season, is to stay with him. I really don't understand that. And it isn't my hot-headed, blow it all up and start again attitude. This is truly looking at the situation, knowing what it must be like in the dressing room, that people are divided, that people are frustrated, that people are arguing with each other, I'm sure, in there as well. Maybe doubting some of the words of the manager. But what we're seeing is the words aren't having the impact. And a lot of man management, or a lot of football management, is man management. It's been able. Look at Jurgen. How many players that worked under Jurgen have you heard come out and say some variation of, we felt like we were untouchable, or we were going out onto that pitch thinking we could beat anybody in any environment at any time. And you see your manager on the sideline fist pumping tackles or blocks. These are all immeasurable, but they're all a big part of what factors into an emotional fan base and an emotional brand of football, which we play. And we're at our best when everyone is pulling together. The players, the fans, the manager. Look at Galatasaray. That one night, yes, opposition needs to be taken into account, but one night, everything was in the right direction. Fans, players, managers, attitude, aggression. Whether it's they felt hard done by or frustrated by the play acting or the over celebrations over in Istanbul, but they were able to foster it and harness that for one night. That shouldn't be an exception. That should be all the time. And that's why I'm, again, so clear that Arne is not going to be able to recreate that. Because at the very first wobble, the conversation started again. He said this himself. So these are my reasons for wanting him gone. And the people who see clips of me or think I'm a hothead, they don't hear this side of it. They don't hear me categorically point out exactly why I think he's the wrong man. It's not an anti-Arna anything. It's truly wanting the best for the team, the club, and the fans. And he ain't it. He ain't it. It's gone too far. The damage has been done now. So my question to John W. Henry, Tom Werner, Mike Gordon is, why does it need to get to an unfixable situation before you act? Why are you willing to write off another season? Why are you willing to put in jeopardy Champions League qualification or the future of this football club? Because if you really cared and it wasn't just about finances, you'd see this the way fans see it, the way pundits see it. Clearly, categorically, he's not the guy. He hasn't been able to get a tune out of them. He hasn't been able to inspire them. He hasn't been able to turn this around. And that's not hate. That's the reality. His style is awful. Had the same struggles at Feyenoord, but hasn't changed anything. So at Feyenoord, and I've been thinking quite a bit about this actually, because I've wondered how he's come across as being so surprised. And there's some things he says that I don't even think they make much sense. So he keeps going on about the intensity of the Premier League and the players like Ekitike and Wirtz and these guys coming in aren't really used to playing at that intensity twice a week. Yes, they are. They're just not used to your bullshit training methods that aren't pushing them hard enough. You've turned what were super fit players into players that look like they can't go for the full 90. And then you justify your own failures by saying these guys aren't ready to play full 90 minutes or can't play every 3-4 days. They could if you train them hard enough. So I've come to this conclusion. For me, the remnants of Jurgen Klopp's era and the fitness of those players and the steeliness and work rate of those players is what won us the league last year, with Klopp being able to then maximise the availability of those players over a slightly longer period. But this summer, it looks like when his methods have finally been implemented to the fullest, we're way off it. That's the way I see it. And that's why I think he cannot change it. Because we've been outrun way too many times, outfought way too many times. And what happened to the energy from his very first game, where he took off Jarell Kwanzaa for losing his battles and his duels? He set a tone from day one that he hasn't lived up to with others. And he hasn't enforced that same tone. I could sit here and talk for 4 hours about why I don't think he's the right man. And none of it is personal. Star Replier said, Craig, I know some may disagree, but I don't think hiring Slot was a mistake. His tactics genuinely work, but he was stubborn and didn't change when others found him out. He needs to go. I agree. I don't see how any of us can say the appointment was a failure. We won the league. That was such a lovely bonus last year. But like I said, mate, what makes it so much more difficult is we never seen Jurgen Klopp get £450 million. Even with, I know Arna goes on about the money recouped, fair enough, it's a valid point. But we didn't see Jurgen get to break the British transfer record twice in one window. We had to see him scraping around for bargain bin signings at one point. Or, trying to put sticking plasters on it. So, to see a manager that won the league given that freedom and then look like he doesn't know how to make these players fit, or he doesn't, like, for the few games we had Isak available, it didn't look like he had a system that was set up to get the most out of him or even understand his movements. Like, Wirtz has been brought in to be a 10 and now he's playing on the left side most of the time. None of this makes sense to me. So yeah, wouldn't say it was a failure, understood the reasoning, but we've gone so far away from that similarity, that brand, that style, that I don't now know what his style of football is. And again, on top of that, I think now it's more suited to Alonso because of the Wirtz, because of the Frimpong, because of the personnel we have, and I think we could play with wing backs. I think we need more centre backs, but I think we're closer to a squad that could play in a back three. Now, remember one of the things that Arna and the club said was these guys, a lot of them have played 4-3-3 or some variation of that most of their career. But we're seeing the old reliables start to leave Liverpool now. Trent is gone. Mo is going. Virgil is a year to go. Alisson is a year to go. Diaz is gone. So a lot of the players that were talked about initially as having played this system aren't here. And now we've got players in like Frimpong and Wirtz who have played that system and played it remarkably well. So I think between the shift in Arne's style and the squad shift to the way, or the players we have available now, I think we're actually closer to being able to go to a back three than we would have been initially. And I don't think that it'd be the same upheaval to bring in a coach as maybe it would have been back then with an Amram or an Alonso. Lewis, did I miss your super chat, mate? My sincere apologies. I'll find it for you now. Yeah, I have it here. Sorry, my friend. Thank you for pointing it out to me, though. Always feel free to do that. Yesterday was my first away game. Travelled from Northern Ireland. I'm a student. Cost me £450 total, including travel and day off work. Stand empty to 70 minutes. I feel that pain, and I empathise with you entirely, mate. I've never had the pleasure of going to an away game, but I did have my bucket list game ticked off this year. So I've always dreamt about seeing Liverpool, Manchester United at Anfield. But I've always known the likelihood of me getting a normal ticket is probably slim to none. And this year we pushed the boat out and we bought a hospitality ticket. Now, my trip over for the 2 nights I stayed over there, the flights and the match ticket, in pounds sterling would have cost me about £1,300 or £1,400. And I went into that game so excited to be there. I couldn't speak highly enough of the staff at Anfield. My God, they were incredible. They were so welcoming to everybody. They looked after everybody so well. But 63 seconds in, I'm seeing Brian Mbeumo put the ball in the net and we lose 2-1 to United at Anfield. And that was at the time, if you remember, that Slot pissed off to Dubai and I lost my shit over it during that international break. And we came back to that. We lost 3 going into it and came back out of it and lost against United at home. And remember where United were at that point. They weren't great. It's not like the confident United that there was now. So I get it. I understand it. And it kills me that my once-in-a-lifetime bucket list game was such an anticlimax on the pitch. But again, I couldn't speak highly enough of the staff and my experience inside Anfield, being looked after by people there. It was brilliant. And, you know, if you can ever treat yourself to one, if your finances allow, you will be well looked after. But yeah. And probably the most famous one for us this season was Grandad, when somebody said that, they spent hours on the train, spent a load of money, brought their granddad for the first time. His granddad had been unwell, first time in years, and was heartbroken at the performance. I think it was it the League Cup game? Apologies if it wasn't, but I think it was in and around that. And you guys start sending in money, saying for granddad. And do you know what? I didn't start that. You did. And I finished the stream that night and I said to my wife, this is the best night I've had on the channel. Because not only did the thing that I thought about people get confirmed to me, that we have an unbelievable community of people who are so supportive of each other. I felt like that was it. That was the culmination of all of it. And it was done completely naturally from you guys. I didn't push it. I didn't ask for it. You start sending them in bit by bit for granddad. And we managed to get in contact with the guy and we refunded his money because of your generosity. We've brought, all the live shows we've done, all the stage shows we've done in Cardiff, in Dublin, in Belfast, in Liverpool. We've never kept any of that money until the very last show, last October. We took the money from that ticket sale. But every other show, we've given that money back out. When we went for our end of season one last year, we gave it all to the fund for the victims of the crash in Liverpool City Centre. For other shows, we've flew people in from Poland. A guy and his dad flew him in from Poland to bring them there. We, helped to raise the money for Joe Lewis's wheelchair with you guys. That's what this means to us. Being able to make a small little difference like that, or sponsoring Adam, the young MMA fighter, or another guy who I haven't even spoken to you guys about behind the scenes. These are things that are an honour for us to do. And to be able to give back to Courtown Hibs and sponsor a couple of kits. You know, we aren't arsed about the money side of this. We want to leave a legacy of kindness in a time when the world doesn't feel like it's there. Because you deserve it. And to meet you guys at these shows, to meet Dave Sharples and have him kiss my sweaty head, and I do mean this head, by the way, multiple times, it's been an honour. You know, and the little trinkets and gifts that people have given us when we've met them, these all will stay with me a lifetime. And yeah, I'm immensely proud of our community. So that's why I get so angry when people think that they know everything about us and can belittle us and think I'm a non-serious person. We're good people. You're good people. And there's not enough I love yous in this world. There's not enough arms around the shoulder. You know, there's not enough talk about struggles and mental health. And that's what this is, not just a football channel. This is a community, for want of a better word. Craig, I live in Dubai, and you won't believe me, but I saw a slot Dubai a couple of months ago, and please come to Dubai, you'll love it. Oh, Faisal, my son is obsessed with the idea of going to Dubai. You know, he's forever asking me, when can we go? When can we go? When can we go? Honestly, he keeps showing me Instagram things and photos of it and all these things he wants to do. Love to go. Love to just probably be next year, probably be 2027. But God, mate, I want to get over. You know, so many people I know have been there, have loved it. But I do believe you've seen them. I absolutely do. But yeah, with regards to coming over, I promise you, if we ever do come over, if you're around, happy to have a coffee or with you, mate. Alan said, Craig, when do you move into your new man cave? Just waiting to hang up the jerseys. That's literally it at this point. My builder's been a bit unlucky with injuries he's had to himself. He's dislocated his shoulder 4 times and is waiting for an operation on it. Another one of the guys that worked with him had an accident, and you know, I don't want to push him because he's been so good to work with and so kind to us and really gone above and beyond. And again, Dean Hayden Construction, if you're looking for any work done, if you're in Wexford or this neck of the woods, a more honest, a more hard-working and a more flexible builder you'll never meet. I fucking count my lucky stars that Dean came into our lives and I've been able to get to know him. So yeah, I just don't want to... I'm just allowing him to play catch up a little bit. And look, we're in no big rush. You know, the studio's built. I've always said we'll get in it when we get into it. But yeah, I want to be fair with him because he's been more than fair with us. Wayne, how are we, my man? Evening, Craig. Really hope after the PSG game that FSG act, excuse me, but got a feeling that they will wait until we're out of the race for everything. It really feels like they won't act if we're knocked out of the Champions League. Now, if we were to get beaten 6-0, maybe. But I feel like if we went out competitively over 2 legs, it's still going to come down to the Champions League and the league. And I still think we probably get Champions League football. Maybe that's stupidity on my point, but I still do think we get there. But it's still not good enough to keep him in a job. Dara said, was that the Leeds and Spurs games at Anfield this season? This season is a curse. Amazing content as always. Thank you, my man. And sorry for the games. You know, it's... yeah, look, I can't get past that 9-12 run. Like, I never thought I'd see that again in my lifetime for Liverpool. Your predicted score for Wednesday. Do you know what, Paul? I'll give it to you because I'm not giving you my 11. I want you to watch the preview for that. But 3-1 loss is what I'm going to go for on Wednesday, which, you know, would keep us in the tie anyway, to some extent. So yeah, 3-1 loss, unfortunately, is my score prediction for Wednesday. Again, of course, want to be wrong about that, but yeah, that's honestly where my head's at. So I'm going to stay on for another 15 minutes and then I'm going to go record a news update video. Tomorrow, ladies and gents, we are going to record another episode of the podcast. It's been a while because of holidays and that, but myself, Connor and Chris are going to be recording that tomorrow. It should be out on Spotify About 9 o'clock, maybe tomorrow evening. And then, of course, the clips of it will go up, bits and pieces of it on YouTube. But if you do want to listen to the full episode, please do check us out on Spotify. Can't wait to get back chatting with the boys. It's been a couple of weeks since we've all been together, so it'll be nice to chat about everything there as well. I'll be here tomorrow with a late night agenda, a news video. Connor will be here in the morning, and of course building up then to the game on Wednesday against Paris Saint-Germain. The preview will be out tomorrow night after the live stream. But we've still got 15 minutes to go, so do keep your questions and your comments coming in. Craig, me and my cousin, and you're going to have to try better to bait me with the name there, mate. Watch your channel every day. Yeah, and again, Duncan, why, mate? Why? You know? As the guy who they tried to cancel for saying numpty, to see you do that to me, to try and bait me into saying a word that again is going to come about, to try and get me in trouble. I mean, I think I deserve a bit better than that, to be honest with you, dude. But, you know, I can't control what you write. Leighton said, it's bad that we're all gone into this PSG game hoping for the score that doesn't get embarrassing. Yeah, it is. It's not a great feeling to have as a fan either. So yeah, a gentleman by the name of Michael Reed posted on X to say Liverpool have lost 15 of the last 40 games in all competitions. The first time Liverpool have lost that many games since a run of 40 games in a single season since 2009-2010. Sorry, I'm just going through my notes. Right, I want to go through some of the stuff that I haven't had a chance to read yet from some of the journalists that I actually want to say I agree with a lot of this. So let's start off with Paul Joyce. Said there's a soft underbelly to a squad that think they're better than they are, judging by the amount of tricks and flicks seen at 0-0, and that speaks directly to a head coach who should not test the patience of owners FSG too much. FSG wants Slot to turn things around, but on days such as this, where are the signs that anything other than the further unravelling is going to occur? Lewis Steele said this was the travelling cop voting with their feet, turning their backs, and not just physically but metaphorically. They pay their money, follow this lot around the country time and time again, and have not been repaid on the pitch. Also said, forget any talk of transition or a transition year. This is a lame excuse only used in hindsight. This was supposed to be the time when they began building a dynasty. And again, I'm really grateful that Lewis Steele wrote that, because people had forgotten that that was what was being spoken about. Long, sustained success. He also said, it's hard to see how Slot turns this around. It's tough to envisage how a loyal and understanding fan base changes their mind on him. In the eyes of many, he was already past the point of no return, but this week, a loss in Manchester followed by who knows what in Paris could seal that. Andy Hunter of The Guardian wrote after that performance, no fight, no character, and unforgivably precious little effort for the 20 minutes when Manchester City ran riot either side of the interval, resulted in the heaviest defeat of Slot's Liverpool reign. The pressure on the head coach rises again. So as I've said, folks, he has gotten worse. That's the worst loss of his time at the club. So there's no turning it around. He isn't figuring it out. He's had long enough. What more needs to happen? FSG, Edwards, Hughes, they need to do what is right here for a club that they're supposed to care about. This isn't about ego, personal opinion. This is about doing the right thing. And as they always tell, removing the emotion from the decision making and looking at it with clear eyes. And any season review that they do, the only way they keep him in a job is to try and justify that all of this came because of things outside of his control, which simply is not the case. Star Player said, Craig, my dad doesn't want to go back to Anfield after the Forest game because it just depressed him so much. Slot has sucked the life out of this club with his stubbornness and how out of touch he is. Yeah, exactly. It feels like he just doesn't get it, is the easiest way I can summarise it. Craig, can you please ask my question? What will you do if Slot stays next season? I don't know, mate. I don't know. I'll watch Liverpool, but I don't know if I'll be able to do watch-alongs every week and, continue to do as much work as I do on the channel because, someone said to me yesterday that I'm looking a lot better since my break. Well, that shows you how impactful this has been on me in a negative way this year. Seeing so many people frustrated, hurt, and annoyed has taken its toll on me as well. And that comes down to the football under Arna. So if he's still here next year, I dare say FSG are going to see a hit in their bottom line because the club won't have the same pull for people. And certainly people aren't going to be going out of their way to empty their pockets as much as they have done. So yeah, that's all I can say because I'm not going to say I'll stop watching Liverpool. I won't. But I won't feel as invested in it next year, certainly. Would I start Rio versus PSG? Oh, I don't know, mate. I kind of debated this with myself the other day. So I guess it's tough to try and strike the balance of what I think is realistic for a starting 11 and what I do myself. I don't know, but it isn't a blanket no. So the big question for me for Wednesday is what happens with Salah. That's the biggest question that I've been battling with myself with my predicted 11. What happens there? Because who covers on the right if he doesn't play? What options then have you got if you want to get Wirtz into his better position? Do you bring Gakpo back in? And I think some people are going to be quite confused by the 11 that I've picked, but I'll try to explain my thought process going through it as I can. So yeah, it's a tough one. He doesn't make decisions like he's a manager that thinks his job is on the line. Because there are some people, like, I don't think Kanade should play on Wednesday, as an example. I just don't. I don't think I don't want to take the risk of Kanade having a Kanade moment and getting a red card or giving away a stupid penalty. Again, I know Virgil gave away a stupid one. I'm not trying to say he's infallible, but again, we can only do so much change. So, yeah, it's a tough one because ultimately, who deserves to start after that Manchester City game? Hard to make a real case for any of them deserving a start. Paul said, Slot likes us to suffer, so be prepared for Gakpo. I actually don't think Gakpo is the wrong choice for this game because we're going to need some defensive help as well. Gakpo is tall. PSG aren't a very big side. So from set pieces and stuff, Cody Gakpo's presence, I think, could help us. He's very tactically astute as a footballer. For all his limitations, there are things that he's good at. And away from home in Europe, sometimes not letting the game get away from you is going to be important. So I don't know. I don't think Gakpo playing is as ridiculous as maybe we normally think it is because this isn't a once-off, one-match result. This is about managing it over 180 minutes to get through to the next game and keeping the tie alive has got to be key target number one here. Is Isak going to start or is he going to be on the bench? I can't imagine a world where he starts, mate. I can't. He's been out too long. And I think if we can get 10, 15 out of him over in Paris, maybe, then see how he reacts to that, see what happens then for the following week. And maybe, of course, for the Fulham game, I think it is coming up as well. Do you think Alonso could possibly have the same outcome as Arna? If yes, then why do you think that? Because I see it possibly the same way that happened at Madrid. But what happened at Madrid, Ahmed? We got to be really clear on this, mate. He didn't get fired because he wasn't good enough at Madrid. His win rate was about 74%. He has a much better win rate than Arbeloa that's in there now. He had a better win rate than other managers. He got fired at Madrid because they're a club that's run by the players. And there's no accountability. And player power runs rampant. And he wanted to come in there and put standards in. and the club backed the players over him. So that's why it didn't work out at Madrid. Do I have concerns if Alonso comes in? Yeah, of course. I don't think it's a guarantee of success. Any new managerial appointment has some inherent risks built into it. But like I've said before, what was Slot's CV to get the job? Before he came to Liverpool, I would argue Alonso's CV is better than Arne Slot's and has achieved more at a higher level. So, yeah. Mohammed, I haven't got a chance to go through all the news on the title, mate. I'm going to be doing a video in a couple of minutes, and I will try my best to go through it all there for you. But ultimately, mate, the long and short of it is, everybody that I've spoken to and contacted with doesn't believe the line coming from the club that they're fully behind the manager. And their belief is that he's going to be gone at the end of the season. And Alonso certainly seems the front runner at this point. But again, I'm not saying it's a done deal. But I am saying to you, nobody's buying the line from the club that they're fully behind the manager. Because if you're fully behind the manager, one, you don't have to keep telling everyone. Two, put a new deal in front of them. And three, come on, let's use common sense. Why would you be supporting somebody that is failing so miserably? Right, ladies and gents, I'm going to say goodnight and I'm going to go record this news video. It should be out in the next 15-20 minutes and we'll see you again tomorrow. So thank you so much to everyone, and don't forget to enter a giveaway as well. We're giving away that signed Charles Oliveira glove. You can have it framed or unframed, whichever one you would like. And that's thanks to our friends at the collectorscorner.co.uk. You can also get yourself 20% off by using the code Anfield Agenda 1 at checkout. But scan that QR code there on the screen, and that will bring you into the WhatsApp where you'll see the link on how to enter the competition. Appreciate you, and we'll see you tomorrow. Have a good one. Much love.